We both met at the University of Michigan, but I was a couple years, maybe even 3 years younger than Buster in our schooling. And so he was like the big man on campus.
I was.
Well,
it was a great time. That we were both talking about this earlier, that there was a lot of radical art, politics, science. The university is always a hub for a lot of peripheral ideas and energy, and we were a benefit of that.
But we didn't really meet up again until we'd been in Seattle several years after that, I would say.
You came in 72. I came in 73, December. And Norie was on the Arts Commission at that time.
I was on the Arts Commission. Soon after I graduated from graduate school, they put me on the Arts Commission. The Arts Commission was starting its public art program then, and it was a very kind of seminal moment when we were thinking about all the different possibilities of how art could work within the city. And Buster's work on the waterfront there and also on other things became part of that thinking as well. And so one of the engineers from City Light came to the Arts Commission and said, what if we have artists and engineers and architects collaborate together on making this substation? And, would that be an interesting idea? And in fact, a lot of people were like, artists are not going to want to do that. That doesn't sound interesting to artists. And I was like, no, I think it really would be interesting for artists. So we started this project called the Viewlands Hoffman Substation, which is still in existence at 107th and Fremont, up in northern part of Seattle. And Buster was selected as one of the artists for that project. There were 3, Andy Keating and Sherry Markovitz, who were also selected along with Buster. But Buster was really seminal in kind of promoting the thinking around that work.
Yeah. And Seattle's kind of developed this idea, and that is where you come early enough to the process of envisioning a place that you can have an impact on how it could be multi-layers of ways of expression that typically don't get put into architectural and landscape architectural endeavors. So we actually are a profession that come in and often look at where there's places to be filled in and create more dimension to a place.
What drew me to this project in the first place was that I had a studio on the waterfront for 30 years, really. And it is a place that I was so familiar with that I felt so connected to it that I really wanted to make an artwork in this situation. So one day I was walking down the waterfront and looking around at what might make sense as an idea to grab onto. And one of the things I saw was a fern that was growing out of the side of the building. And what that reminded me of is how persistent nature can be in spite of all of this concrete and all the kind of interventions that humans have put onto the environment. And I found that to be especially inspiring. The other thing was that there is a very ubiquitous animal around on the waterfront as well, and that is the seagull. And I've always been inspired by birds and by kind of the freedom that they have to go from one place to another and not be so dependent on the ground itself. They are amazing creatures that have managed to persist in this built environment. They have found their place. And combining those two aspects of the world together in one artwork is sort of what inspired and made this particular part of the artwork come to life.
What I found interesting with Norie's location and site and how she's activated the space is the journey, first of all, that makes its way from First Avenue down to the waterfront. So it's a very continuous lure, coming down and seeing this large fern, which is so soft to the equipment and construction and Ferris wheels and activity that's going on the waterfront. What is so appealing to me is to see a gesture that I would think back to Emily Dickinson's fascination with nature coming up out of the built environment. And this is a gesture that could have gone back to Salish times when this was really a wetlands, and this fern is kind of erupting out of the history of this place. I was drawn to this site for the intent of creating something for habitat, the habitat being the indigenous habitat, segueing into the built environment habitat and how they mesh with each other. I think fundamentally, all artists have a responsibility moving forward to deal with the issues of our impact on the planet. You know, I'm making assumptions here with this piece that in 80 years, decisions are going to be made about what happens to the waterfront here when we pick up and start to migrate the stage, this stage in our life, this stage of this work uphill. And what is the decisions going to be at that time? Will this become rubble or will it be transported? It's designed to move. Will it move up? Who's going to do it? And I have this romantic vision that children playing on this, and I enjoy watching the children play on these dolos, and they get into it. But they're going to be adults, and then they're going to have children, and they're going to bring those children down, and they're going to play on it. And at some point, the children of the children are going to be the decision makers of the city, and there's going to be some connection. And they may see the value in repurposing rather than demolishing.
One of the things that strikes me the most about Buster's artwork is that it has this amazing way of taking the practical, the ecological, the kinds of things that are also very utilitarian, and making them especially beautiful. I love the fact that it's got a little bit of gentle education for us who don't know very much about some of these ecological objects and reasons for being. I have to say, I think it's perfect on the waterfront. It just fits here, and it seems like it's a natural here. But, on the other hand, I also feel a little bit of artistic jealousy because he always nails it in a way that I think is so amazing. Very few other people can kind of get that whole thinking about what this place is about and then put it into form that also makes a lot of sense. One of the things that's so great actually about public art and about sort of what the work that we do is that we learn about all kinds of interesting things, every project. And, we may never use it as a part of an artwork, but it does really embellish our lives in all kinds of interesting ways, I think.
And kudos to the waterfront community and committee for putting an art as a component into this project with all the different elements that you see up and down the street, that it causes some curiosity. And I think that's what is that doing here? What is the intent of that? Those are important things, is the wonder of our environment, is that's the spark.